Hi, so we've already seen how to write a word processor, spreadsheet, and presentation in one day. So today we're going to develop the database component of our Office. So this is day 6 and how to write a database in one day. So I'm not going to write a full database in one day. Basically what I'm going to do is reuse one of the existing Java database or an open source database, and I'm just going to do the visual part of it. So to visualize the data or to manage the data, to edit the data of the database. That's also what this OpenOffice is doing, for example. So we're going to reuse an existing database library. Then you know the classical new module, file type, new top component, also for the database part. Then we're going to attach the database model. So databases are mostly represented in a table, so we're going to use a JTable to see the data of the database. And then we're going to add one action to be able to manage the database, like adding tables, removing tables, and so on, or changing types. So first, we need a Java database. I'm not going to write one, as I already just said. So we have different Java database. One of them is Derby, also known as JavaDB and included in the JDK. Then you have HSQLDB. This one is the one that is used in LibreOffice and in OpenOffice as database. And we have H2, which is another free and open source database. And I've decided to go for JDBC. Of course, JDBC needs an implementation, so I've decided to go for H2. But let's try to use JDBC as API as much as possible. So for those who don't know what JDBC is a Java API where you interface with all the different databases. So the idea is, why H2? H2 is a quite fast database. It's a very small jar file, I think between 1 and 2 megabyte jar, so it's very easy to include in any software. It has different modes, so it can scale from just in memory database to a file database to something which is client server. You can even use it within a cluster. So it goes from a very fast database in memory to also a cluster database if you have a lot of data or if you want to have load balancing and so on. The database is also one file, which is quite useful for having an office because you want to open the file. You want to be able to select it within your file system, and if you have like 10 files or even 3 files per table, then you cannot say I want to open this database, or you have to select one specific file. It contains also extra features in there, such as a full text search. It also has a CSV support, and we're going to see later in a later presentation how it's going to be useful for other modules. It also has, for example, encryption in it as API. The license is very user-friendly, so it's a MPL or so a Mozilla public license or the Eclipse public license. And it also has a web console, so you can manage a database using a web console. So also what you have in NetBeans, you already have a database browser in NetBeans. So why rewrite another one or just reuse this one? So at the same time I've looked at this one, I would say that the one which is in NetBeans is more for people who knows SQL, who knows how the database is done. Here we're going to write an office. So here you'll see the tables, you'll see the different column of the tables. Here you have special in the editor. You can see again the table as a table, but you can also execute SQL queries in there. But it's more for technical people. For an office, you don't want the person to be a developer or to know SQL. You just want the person to open the files, search maybe for some things, change one data, and so on, or just one one colon but does not, for example, decide to put an index on a specific colon or execute a specific SQL query, unless you have a special wizard for it. So we're gonna do something different. Now I've tried to create a new file type. So this new file type is .h2.db for extension. One of the problems is if I try to open it, I've got this specific error. It says that it tries to open it in the editor, in the text editor, instead of using my top component. So what is wrong with it? Well, the problem is that NetBeans does not support double extension. So here the extension is I've declared is .h2.db, but it can only understand the .db. So I've removed the .h2 from the extension, and now it should open all the .db. One of the problems with it is if you have a .trace.db or .log.db, that can sometimes happen with the H2 database, it will try to open it as if it was a database. So I've removed it. Now we need also a JTable for it and a specific table model. So we need a table model that will map to the database, just as I've shown in the presentation. We had a table model which mapped to the spreadsheet of Apache Poi. So here what we do is just execute the request to select everything from the table and just show it. Of course, if you have a big database, that will be a big problem because everything suddenly would be kind of loaded into memory, and you don't want this. But we're gonna fix this problem later. So first, let's do it simple, and then let's make it right. So let's execute the query. You also need some metadata. So here we need to execute the metadata to know the column names, for example. And here we have our first open database with one item, which is hello world. Now we want to edit the data, so we set the part editable, and the edit of the database should be done in the set value at method of the table model. So here is our commit. We're done for the first part of the database. Then we need to add a specific action to it to be able to manage the database. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a new action. This one is a special condition enable action, so it can only be executed on the specific node, which is our database. So we can choose the MIME type of it. And then we're gonna, if you look at the H2 database, it's how to start the web console. It's just to execute this class. So we're gonna, in the implementation of our action, let's reuse this class and then just execute it. Here you see the action is disabled because I haven't selected yet the data node. Now that the database is selected in the favorite and can run it. I would also be able to run it if I would right click on the file. So at the first run, you've got a pop-up saying that it's trying to execute from Windows. So you need to allow this application to get access to it because it's using sockets to communicate, or I think HTTP on a specific port. And just allow it. And now we can start from the application, the management of the database itself. One of the problems with it that we had is that when you start this console.main method, it just doesn't give the hand back. And as it's executed in the AWT event dispatch thread, suddenly the whole Joeffice stops because it's just waiting for the answer before continuing in the AWT event dispatch thread. So to fix this problem, we just need to execute this action within a different thread. So this is to just create the thread within the action, and in the run method of the thread, we start the console. And now here we have, you see that it can repaint the office behind. Now we also have within the console, we can modify the value of the data, and we can see it reflect in the application. And same thing, if we change the value in the application, this will also, if we refresh within the web console, we'll see the new value also. So thank you for watching this presentation. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll enjoy also the other presentation on how to write an office in 30 days. Thank you. Bye.